You should actually figure it out though, so we don't overstain.
I'm going to work on the ceiling. That's the priority.
Okay.
Just ceiling. So we're going to figure out what we
need for that. Then we'll cut it and do those.
Yeah.
And that'll be a batch.
Not these. These are 10-footers, but it's these.
Okay.
It's these down here. The renovation continues. You guys can see we got another big batch of wood. We're going to start processing this. This is going to be the wood we need to finish up our bathroom renovation. Well, the walls and the ceiling. So basically what we have to do is put a tongue and a groove on each board and then finish them with a stain and sealer. Here is our dual router table set up and just enough room to walk between them, and I can pass the boards through one way for the grooves and then slide it through the other side for the tongues. And it saves a lot of work because when you have to keep switching out router bits, and then you'd have to get them lined up again so that the tongues and grooves are interlocking properly, it takes a lot of time. And you have to keep testing it and making sure they're lined up. You got to do some tests, some scrap runs, see how they're looking. It's a big hassle. So that's why we have a dual router setup. It's awesome. When we processed our first set of boards, we ran into a lot of problems with our tables and our router really vibrating to the point where the tables were falling apart. Now, that's not the fault of the table. That is our fault, because what we did was we were using the wrong router for the job. Basically, since we're using a custom bit setup, and these are pretty wide bits, they need to be run at a lower speed. And the routers that we have are DIY routers that are fixed speed. So they're running at a very high RPMs, actually about 24,500 RPMs per minute, revolutions per minute. And what I found out was that the bits that we're using, they're meant to be run at no more than 10,000 RPMs. In fact, they recommend something around 8,000 RPMs. So, I'm running them about 3 times faster than they're safely meant to be run. That's why our tables are vibrating. Now, realizing that this is not safe and it's not good for the tools, we had to fix it. So I picked up a new router, actually 2 new routers. We're going to swap them out on their tables. These are Bosch routers, and I got these because they're variable speed, 8,000 to 25,000 RPMs. They get good reviews, they were affordable, and I just wanted to try something other than DeWalt. DeWalt was fine, but there was a couple things I wasn't crazy about, so I said let's try something new. Let's get these swapped out, see if we can drop that RPM down to 8,000 RPMs, run these again, and see if we get a smoother job out of this. And the other thing that I'm really looking forward to seeing is if it throws less wood chunks. Because when we were running them at 24,000 RPMs, it was slapping wood out faster and harder than the vacuum could keep up. And I'm almost betting that at 8,000 RPMs we'll have less sawdust on the floor. We'll see about that. Well, there it is. I mean, it's not a bad looking router. Got some wooden handles. A router here so it's not falling when I'm unscrewing this. So now you guys can see my router bit set up, and you can see how massively wide those wing out. And they're blades that are bolted on to a custom router bit. And it works just like a shaper or like a molder machine, a molding machine. Now these are not carbide tipped like most router blades. These are just steel. Carbon steel, and that means that they're sharper and they can handle more heat, but they won't last as long as a carbide bit would. But when they dull, I can just buy new blades and bolt it on to the bit, so that's kind of neat. And I could also buy other profiles. These are custom profiled blades. Now this is pretty neat because this router is a little bit different than the DeWalt one in that I can actually, right here from the top of the table, I can adjust the height of it. And I can fine tune it right here. That is neat. I think we're ready to start these boards. I'm pretty excited. I don't know if you can see them back there, but I cut them yesterday, got them cut to length so that they're easier to run through the machine. We're going to get the tongues and grooves on these and hopefully get them stained today. So big progress. We're looking forward to that. Let's get working. Let me tell you, those new routers, I got them installed last night and I tested them out. And they worked awesome. So quiet, so smooth. The variable speed is awesome. It has a soft start feature, so when you turn it on, it eases into the spin. It doesn't just bang on. It's better for the motor, and it's just nicer. And there was no vibration, and it was so many times quieter than before. And I was also right, it caught so much more of the wood shavings into our dust collection system. So here's what I'm learning from this. A, the Bosch routers so far are really nice, and I like them better than the DeWalt routers. The build quality is better, not just the variable speed, because I know you can buy a variable speed DeWalt, but the adjustments to make it go up and down is so much nicer than the DeWalt. So happy that I got Bosch. That made all the difference in the world, and now we can run our router bits at a slower speed, safer speed, and not be shaken apart the place. I'm loving this. So let's get working and see if we can get this wood done. We just finished up processing this new batch of wood, and you can see we got quite a few pieces done. Previously on the bathroom walls we used this wood. This is a select pine from New Zealand, so it's imported pine, and it has a very nice smooth finish. It's a lightweight wood, very light. Now this right here is what we're using for the ceiling, and you can see it looks similar, but it is different. This is a yellow pine, and this is grown here in the US. It's heavier, and it's not as, it's a different grain. You can see the grain difference clearly. Now the reason we're going with a yellow pine for the ceiling is because we're experimenting while we're in a small room that's easy to experiment with. We're going to see how we like the yellow pine stained white, also how it is machining it, installing it, etc. So we're comparing it to this one because this one costs a little bit more, and there was more of the yellow pine in stock than this select pine. There's just, sometimes it's really hard to get a lot of this, so this could really slow down our project in the bedroom. So we're going through our options, seeing what wood we like, and trying to make a good decision. So I will tell you that this yellow pine was much worse than this. It had a lot more imperfections. It was a lot more wobbly and bowed and twisted. This stuff was nice. So I'm not a big fan of this, but let's get it finished up and installed, and then I'll make a decision. And if we don't like it, it's isolated to that one ceiling in the bathroom that you'll never really look at, and we can move to a different wood on the bedroom. Wood is done. I'm going to bring them up to the house. I'm going to get them sanded, and then we'll start finishing them. last night we worked on getting these boards stained and they came out beautiful. Now this wood, like I said, is a different wood than we used previously, so it does look different. But it looks good, and I think it's going to match and blend in. You wouldn't even know it. It does have a slightly rougher texture though. It's going to be interesting to see how the clear coat goes on and how it looks with the clear finish. That's what I'm doing right now, getting the boards clear coated. So once again, we're going to keep going with the Ecos Paints Clear Semi-Gloss Varnish. It's working well so far. I'm going to go ahead and get those coated. I'm not going to bother showing you guys because it's clear on white and it's not very fun to see. So let me get that worked. When we're done, we'll come back, do a second coat, and then we'll get them installed. We finally finished up the boards and they are looking awesome. Now they do look a lot different, well, than the original boards. Now I don't think that's going to be a problem. It's different, it's not bad. The white still looks good. And because this wood is going on the ceiling, it doesn't have to match the walls perfectly, and it'll look intentional either way because it'll differentiate itself from the walls. It'll be ceiling wood, wall wood. It's okay. But now that we did this experiment, we know how this type of yellow pine turns out, and we can make that decision going forward if we want to use it or not. I really like the clear smooth finish better than the more heavy wood grain finish. So now that those boards are all done, the 2 coats of clear sealer is dry, we can go ahead and get them installed and get the bathroom ceiling finished. Okay, this is the real moment of truth, is to see if this one lands how it's supposed to. My first cut around the ventilation fan. Hopefully we can squeeze it in there. You missed it, but I got it in. It's not too bad, but it's not too great.
Wow, that looks precise.
Ooh, that went in nicely. Just give me a tape measure. So here's the progress update. We have half of the bathroom ceiling done, up until the dividing wall here. So this all came out really good. It looks nice. And that's back there. And now we're going to carry on to this part. You can see we have blocking installed so that we can carry the boards this way, the same way as we're doing here. And this ceiling should be pretty quick and easy because there's just one light fixture way over here. This should go very smoothly.
And it's a larger space to work in.
Yeah, not crammed between the shower anymore. And that was the last piece to complete the ceiling. And believe it or not, that last little piece was the cutoff from the first piece when we had to fit it in that end. So we ended where we began. So that was awesome.
We had just enough boards for this.
Yeah, we finished only enough. There is none left. So if we had any mess ups, it would have been pretty bad. Luckily, all of our cutouts came out awesome. Perfect. I'm happy. Guys, this ceiling looks a lot better than I expected. The gloss looks great. The grain isn't overpowering. And it blends in with the walls very well, even though it's a different species of pine. It was tricky to start the ceiling because the ceiling started at an angle and then it went flat. And I wanted to make sure the angle landed where two boards came together. Let me show you that. You can see what I mean right there. We have that slope starting and then it goes straight. Well, took me a little while to get that lined up, but it breaks right on the joint so you don't even notice it. Perfect. Now, just to make a note, I probably won't do it in this video, but I'm going to go ahead and foil tape the edges of this hole just to try to air seal it a little bit better before the cover goes on there. With a ceiling like this, it's going to be a little harder, but I've seen people do that trick. Just a little bit of foil tape. You don't want it sticking way out in your ceiling, but just to close up that gap. Air sealing is the most important thing you can do for your home. Over and above insulating and all that is air sealing. And you don't want that humid air getting up into the ceiling and into the roof, so we'll seal that up. Now that the ceiling is done, we can actually complete the walls. They can come right up. That'll be coming soon, not in this video though. We have to go process the wood and get another batch done. And this is just the beginning of this project because we still have to do all of this. This is a large space with a cathedral ceiling, and we're going to have to process a lot of wood. There's one more thing I want to go back to before we end this video, and that is the new routers. Those Bosch routers are running so smooth and so quiet and so stable, and that's a large part because it has the variable speed. I want to say that on top of that, I'm really loving the height adjustment feature way above the DeWalt one. I think it's going to make a huge difference in safety and just making the tools last and getting all this project done. It was actually probably pretty unsafe to be running those blades as fast as we were.
Yeah, like 3 times as fast.
And now we learned that lesson. We're always learning, always growing, and just doing the best we can. Awesome. New routers. Wood going together quick. Bathroom is almost done, believe it or not. So I guess that's all we have for now. Thanks for watching. And until next time, take care.
See ya.